Much, Bridget. As we know, it's not a matter of if, but a case of when. Will marijuana, recreational marijuana, be legalized in Canada? A new report suggesting just this past year that 2018 is possible, 2019 is likely, and so that's opened up a lot of questions, a lot of answers required before that does actually happen. And to kind of give us a sense of that a little bit right now, joined by two people, Sasha Hockenhull and Allison McMahon. Sasha, you're with HempFest,
yes,
which is coming up here, and Allison, you're with Cannabis at Work. So let's talk about what you guys are doing here in the city and what you'll be presenting this weekend. Sasha, in particular, yours is interesting because, as I'm just finding out, HempFest, Cannabis Expo, these giant expos are just something relatively new here in Canada.
Yeah, we had the second event in Canada in Calgary in the fall, and it was really well received in Calgary, and the community really supported it. And yeah, we had a lot of exhibitors, which kind of blew me away, and yeah, it was a great day. So
was it like, when you say you got a good response, was it a very passionate, outgoing, or were people kind of maybe a little bit muted because, you know, it's still technically not legalized in Canada?
Yeah, it was pretty passionate, and a lot of different people showed up to get a lot of great information about medical cannabis and maybe ask some questions that they weren't able to ask before, and it was a good venue for them to get some information they were looking for.
And that's interesting too, because this is where you kind of come in, Allison, on this too, is answering some of these questions. In particular, you've got a focus on cannabis and the workplace, because if I understand correctly, I mean, that's a pretty big hurdle that needs to be cleared before we do actually see it legalized.
Absolutely. So my background's in human resources, and I saw this coming and kind of transitioned my human resources consulting business to focus on helping employers get educated and develop strategies on managing medical cannabis patients, which exist today and you know, have jobs and are in workplaces, as well as looking forward to the recreational use and how that's going to impact workplaces as well.
So do you think that there is a middle ground on the recreational front in terms of, because if I'm understanding it correctly, I'm not a user myself, but I understand that it's the type of thing that stays in your system a little bit longer than, you know, conversely something else that's legal, which is alcohol, right?
Right, and that's one of the huge challenges for workplaces. The traditional drug testing methodologies we use only detect recent use, so they actually only detect you know, THC or THC metabolites. They don't detect active impairment. Huh. And so when we're talking especially about safety sensitive positions, and the question is, if somebody's using in their own time, how do we know then that they're not coming to work impaired? And we do lack some of the technology to tell us that. It's one of the big challenges right now.
So I'm kind of curious for you, obviously the part of the appeal is, you know, this learning process and getting questions answered. How do you think an event such as yours might be impacted by legalization?
We think it'll only grow because it's already been a huge success so far, and you know, we're just on the brink of everything changing in the industry. Yeah. I
think the legislation that we're going to see from the government is actually going to be quite progressive. Mm-hmm. The report that the task force put out in late 2016 was in favor of edibles, it was in favor of cafes, and while that's not the actual legislation, it's recommendations that will inform the legislation. I think we're going to see a pretty progressive stance from the government, which will only mean there's more businesses, there's more exhibitors for things like the HempFest Expo, mm-hmm. And definitely a growing culture around recreational use in Canada.
Well, and what we've seen certainly in Colorado and Washington is that there's been more use there, certainly beyond, I think, what legislators expected. Do you think that's going to be the case here? Do you think that we're going to see more people than we probably anticipate indulging in this, should it in fact become legal?
I believe so, yeah, because there's still a lot of people that, oh, it's illegal, I'm not going to try it, but if you have the choice and you can say, oh, can I go to a liquor store tonight, or can I go to a dispensary that's legal, I think a lot of people will say, yeah, maybe I'll give that a try, and maybe they'll like it, you know, and move from there.
I think it's like something around 50% of Canadians have said that if it's legal, they would try it at the very least.
Okay, well, there you go. So just to make sure that people know at home that if they want to check out the event or check out your presentation, when and where?
We're this weekend at the Shaw Conference Center, and we are start at 1 o'clock on Saturday, 1 till 7, and then on Sunday we are 11 till 5.
Perfect. And when will you be hitting?
Yeah, our conference, it's a one-day conference on medical cannabis at work. It's on Friday. Our on-site tickets are sold out. There's still live stream tickets available until the end of day tomorrow.
So there you go. Very insightful conversation. Appreciate this very much. And certainly this is a conversation we're going to keep following for the next few years, to say the least. That's it for this segment. Don't go too far, though. We've got much more dinner television beaming back into your living room. Just a matter of minutes. Stay tuned.